Good morning. Welcome to the second day of the BRN board meeting for August 5th, 2021. We will call to order a roll call and establish a quorum. My name is Dolores Trujillo. I am president of the board, and I have been appointed by the governor in the direct nurse role. Sorry, I'll get it straight. Vice President Mary Fagan.
Good morning. I'm Mary Fagan. I'm the new vice president for the Board of Nursing. I was appointed by the governor in the Nursing Services Administration role.
Thank you. Jovita Dominguez.
My name's Jovita Dominguez. I was appointed by the governor as education.
Thank you, Jovita. Susan Naranjo.
Susan Naranjo, public member appointed by the speaker.
Thank you. And Elizabeth Woods.
Good morning, Elizabeth Woods, appointed by Governor Brown. I've been here a while, you see.
Thank you. And I believe we just have a quorum. Imelda is excused today, correct? Imelda Ceja-Buckowitz will not be joining us.
That's correct.
Okay. So we've established a quorum. Loretta Melby.
Thank you. I am Loretta Melby, or Lori, and I am the board's executive officer appointed by the board.
And our board counsel, Reza.
Good morning. Reza Pejyahesh, BRN Board Legal Counsel.
Thank you. So we're looking at the agenda. Can we bring up, we're going to go through, we're going to sequence the agenda to take item 4.0 before item 3.0. Can we bring the agenda up, please?
I think they're trying to
Okay.
kind of slide to reflect that.
Did you want us to go to 4.0?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mark, we would still need to do item 2.0. We have not done that yet. So we do need to do 2.0, and then we would go to 4.0, then to 3.0. And then 4.0, to add for more confusion, is 8.7 from yesterday's agenda items.
Okay, so we need to go to, well, that's 2.0 right now on the screen.
Yes.
Yes. So you would need to complete this one, and then item 4.0 on today's agenda is continue with unfinished agenda items from August 4th, 2021, if necessary. And so we would start with item 8.7 from yesterday after this one is completed. Yep.
You got that, presenter? Go to slide 8.7.
After 2.0, correct?
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
general instructions. That would be me. Sorry.
It's okay.
Alrighty. Good morning. This is the Brn Moderator. I will be moderating the meeting. To facilitate public comment, we will be utilizing the WebEx question and answer feature. When the board reaches a point in the agenda at which public comment is appropriate, the question and answer feature will be turned on, and members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by inserting the phrase, "I would like to make a comment," in the question box, which is typically in the lower right of your screen. I will then call on the individual and unmute their microphone. The individual will have 2 minutes to make their comments. I will not give a warning as your time approaches. I will mute your microphone and will announce that your time has exceeded the time allotted. I will then move on to the next member of the public who has a comment. Please note that the question and answer feature is being used only as a means for members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. This is not a means to ask questions of the moderator or members of the board. Such inquiries submitted using this feature will not be answered. When asking a question, please make sure the question is directed at me, the host, in the dropdown. If any attendees utilize a profane name, they will not be called upon to prevent members of the public participating on the call. Please do not use profane language when making public comments to the board. I will provide a brief reminder of this approach at the start of each public comment item. Finally, when board members or senior staff are not speaking, I would like to remind them to mute their microphone. If I detect background noise during the meeting as a result of unmuted microphones, I will interject with a brief friendly reminder.
Good morning, Rubita.
Good morning. I would like to start with 8.7, and Dr. Mary Ann McCarthy will lead us to that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Agenda item 8.7. Discussion and possible action regarding initial approval of a current advanced practice nursing program. This program is Charles Drew University Family Nurse Practitioner and Psych Mental Health Nurse Practitioner degree nursing programs. This school will be presented by Donna Schutte, Nursing Education Consultant. Donna?
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Donna Schutte, Nursing Education Consultant for CVU. And with me today are the Provost, Dr. Stephen Michael, and the Director of the FNP programs, which include MSN and a Postmaster Certificate program, and that is Professor Maria Hoxson. And we are also here with us today is Dr. Eunice Nongo Bazong, the Director of the Psych Mental Health MP programs, which include an MSN and a Postmaster Certificate programs. CVU is a private nonprofit community-founded institution located in Los Angeles, designated an historically Black graduate institution and a Hispanic serving institution with an emphasis on social justice and health equity for underserved populations. Besides offering the MP programs, the School of Nursing also offers RN to BSN, ELM, and baccalaureate nursing programs. I conducted an initial BRN approval virtual visit on April 7th. FNP program enrollments were 178. Psych mental health MP programs enrollment was 144. There were no areas of non-compliance identified. One recommendation was made regarding CCR section 1483.2 related to board notification of substantive changes in organizational structure. The programs are CCNE accredited. Initial accreditation of the FNP MSN program was February 2012, and the initial accreditation of the Psych Mental Health NP and the 2 Postmaster Certificate programs was April 2017. The next CCNE site visit is spring 2017. The 2018 FNP AANP-CB pass rate was 75.4%, for 2019, 77%, and for 2020, 71%. The program does have, in place an Advanced Practice Education Associates, APIA Strategies for Success Bootcamp for FNP student exam success. Pass rates are not yet reported for the Psych Mental Health MP programs. The MP program attrition rates are low. Over the past 2 years, they were between 4 and 5%. This concludes my report. Program representatives are here to answer any questions you may have and provide comment for the initial approval of their MP programs. And moderator, if you would unmute the 3, I would greatly appreciate it.
They have been promoted to panelists, and video and audio are available to them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for us?
Do any of the board members have questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Oh, thank you. Again, my name is Steve Michael. I'm the provost of Charles Andrew University. Is it my turn? Can I speak now, please?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Please
All
proceed.
right. Well, first, I want to thank you all, board members, for taking up the CDU application for the NP programs. First, I would like to thank Dr. Dana Shude, who has been working with the university closely, and Director Melby for her indefatigable leadership. And so we want to thank all of them for the work that they have been doing. Charles Andrew University, established in 1966 in partnership with UCLA, started as an MD school. We are located in SPA 6 in the heart of South LA with over 1 million people there. It is a critical underserved, under-resourced area. We are the only institution that I know in the nation that qualifies as a historically Black institution, Hispanic serving institution, and also qualify as an Asian serving institution. And for that reason, Chronicle of Higher Education ranked us #1 in the nation in terms of faculty diversity, #2 in terms of student diversity. And just last week, we got Forbes magazine, if you saw it, ranked us #5 in the nation in terms of graduate earnings. So the university has a huge trust in South LA, and that is why we were able to offer testing during COVID-19. So the students that you are approving their programs are the people we deploy to help South LA in testing and right now in doing vaccination, because the institution is a trusted ally to the community. So we started as a medical school, but School of Nursing is now the largest program that we have serving South LA. And so we are grateful for the support of the board, and for over the years, we've been working very closely with you. We respond to your leadership quickly in order to continue to advance the university. So right now we do have Professor Hudson, who could say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I would answer any questions that you might want to ask us, the panelists. Thank you.
Professor Bisang.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Bisson, the Program Director for the Charles Andrew University Psych NP program. I'm here for any questions you may have for me. Thank you.
Victor, would you like to, seeing no comments, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, please. I would like to motion to accept. Do I have a second?
A second, Mary.
Thank you. Then the board members already had they had no comment or questions. We appreciate your attendance. Then moderator, can we take it to public comment?
For the record, who did the second?
Mary Fagan.
This is Betty. I think I did. Oh, I don't know.
I heard some overlap.
Did at the same time, yeah.
You can take it, Betty.
Thanks.
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comment. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. And I'd like to take it to a vote. I, Jovita Dominguez, vote yes. President Dolores Trujillo,
Dolores Trujillo votes yes.
Vice President Mary Fagan,
Mary Fagan, yes.
Betty Woods,
Elizabeth Woods, yes.
Susan Naranjo.
Susan, yes.
Thank you. So that brings us, Dr. McCarthy, to 8.8.
Thank you very much. I would like to draw the board's attention to agenda item 8.8 as there is a correction that needs to be made with the agenda item. This agenda item did not go to the Education and Licensing Committee. It was a late entry. It's gone straight to you as the board. And so I am going to read the corrected agenda item. 8.8, discussion and possible action regarding whether to accept changes to an approved program. This is addition of a new campus or a location. This is for Glendale Career College Associate Degree Nursing Program in San Diego. They have a new location and an address change. Presenting this program will be Donna Shipp, Nursing Education Consultant. Donna?
Thank you, Marianne. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Donna Shipp. I'm the Nursing Education Consultant for Glendale Career College. Joining me on the line this morning is Program Director Dr. Gloria Bellotti, Assistant Program Director Dr. Deborah Chow, and School Owner Mitchell First. Glendale Career College has requested a change of location for the San Diego site. In February 2019, the board approved Glendale Career College Associate Degree Nursing Program's request to take on Brightwood College nursing students with a teach-out plan at a temporary campus secured at 8888 Balboa Avenue in San Diego. Following the teach-out approval, Glendale Career College returned to the board in September of 2019 and received approval for a new Marcia First School of Nursing San Diego ADN program with a temporary location continuing at 8888 Balboa Avenue, San Diego. On June 23, 2021, Dr. Bellotti submitted a letter of intent reporting that a search for a permanent home is complete for San Diego's site. The new location is located at 6116 Arosa Street in San Diego, just a few miles from their temporary site. Dr. Bellotti further described a need to vacate the temporary location as soon as possible, and I quote, due to unforeseen circumstances, unquote, and requested immediate site visit and board approval. A virtual site has been conducted, was conducted on July 21st, 2021, and the new site displays evidence of adequate resources according to CCR 1424D. The program is now available for questions, and this concludes my report. Thank you.
How many, this is Jovita Dominguez, how many students does this college accept every year?
This is Dr. Bellotti. We have been approved for 45 3 times a year.
Oh, 3 times.
Yes.
So prior to, this is Dolores, board president.
Dolores.
So prior to vacating the previous premises, did you seek board approval to move to the new?
Well, we didn't move. We didn't move anything until the board came in and did their site visit. So what happened was that the building got sold, that we were in, the temporary location. And so once that was sold, he had been looking and looking and looking for a place. Obviously, with the pandemic, things were in and out. The deal was on, it wasn't. And then finally, they sold. They gave us 30 days to get out. And thank God the deal with the new place, 616, where that place was, went through. And so, but we held everything up. They're still, online, using our mobile SimLab that is board approved. So we waited until we can get your approval to move forward.
Are you in the new site already right now?
No, they're online. We've kept them online through the summer. because remember, we have a summer session also. So they're online for the summer and they're doing their mobile sim lab for any clinical stuff that they have to do in regards to skills lab and things like that. No, we have not. We've been very specific about not moving in until this was approved.
We appreciate that. So I motion that we accept. Do I have a second?
I'll second. It's Mary.
Mary, thank you, Mary. Then any more board questions, board members?
This is Loretta, the executive officer. I just wanted to kind of address what the questioning that Dolores was asking, just so that everybody is kind of aware of what occurred, and additionally address what Mary Ann, why this was brought to the board in such an expedited manner. So what our NECs that are assigned to it, to this, in each individual program, works directly with the dean or director of that program. So Donna Ship was notified after the purchase of a different building was completed, and then notified that this was imperative that they get approval to move sites due to the need of the students. So a meeting was held with the nursing education consultant as well as myself, and then a request for a meeting with the board president. So I did share this information with the board president, that there was a delay in notifying the BRN about the school's intent to move campus locations. There was also a request with a schedule laid out where the school had requested to have students enter and use the new site prior to board approval. And so that is just to kind of let you guys know what had happened on the back end when we received this request. An action plan has been submitted by the school that addresses the need to follow the regulatory guidelines, including notice through a major curriculum revision process if they do plan to move campus locations. They have agreed that this is the process that they would do and abide by, and that they are in compliance with board rules and regulations by notifying BRN. We did ask that they communicate with their executive management team when the executive management team decides to purchase a new campus and begin the escrow process, so that they can then get that information to share with the BRN to go through the major curriculum revision process to change campus locations. What was shared with us in the meeting is that the dean and director were not aware that the campus was moving sites, and in fact they came in towards the end of that process and therefore did not have excuse me, adequate time to request a major curriculum revision with the BRN and go through the typical process. So again, that is why our board president was asking those questions, just for clarification, because the understanding was that potentially due to the extreme nature of the request to have, not extreme nature, I'm so sorry, the urgent nature to have students go to switch campuses so there would be no interruption in the students' progression. That is why we ended up having this come directly to a board meeting and bypassing the education licensing committee meeting. But the campus is aware, the administration is aware, and they are doing their due diligence to ensure that they are in line with our rules and regs.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori, for that explanation. It's there's so many regulations. It's important to understand, and I appreciate your definition of why this got expedited. So I believe any other members have questions?
Yes, this is Betty. I have a question. So the new place, the new temporary place, that is up and running
No.
to go to, or?
Yeah, they did a site visit already. It's ready to go. They're not in there yet though. So, yeah, so everything's ready for the students to just come in. We're finishing our semester in the next week and a half. So, they would start with the new semester and come in. So, yeah, they did a site visit. We have everything. Everything's right. It's much nicer than where they were. It's 100 times better than what it was. The other building was sort of falling apart. This is a beautiful, brand new building that was used for educational issues for a seminary. So the transition will be a really easy one for us. And they've done a beautiful job with it. I would love anybody to come see it. It's beautiful. It really is.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
So any other board members have questions? The moderator, could you take us to public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for a comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comments. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you. I'd like to take it to a vote. I, Jovita Dominguez, votes yes. President Dolores Trujillo?
Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Did we have a motion and a second on the floor? Okay.
I believe we did, President. And then Vice President Mary Fagan?
Mary Fagan votes yes.
Betty Woods?
Woods, yes.
And Susan Naranjo?
Susan, yes.
Thank you. It brings us to 8.9, Nclex Updates.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 8.9, Nclex Updates. This will be presented by Katie Dougherty, Nursing Education Consultant.
Thank
Katie?
you, Dr. Carthy.
Good morning.
Hi, Katie.
I'm muted.
Good morning, Madam Chair Dominguez. I'm pleased to present the 3 tables of Nclex data that are typically presented on a routine basis. I wanted to remind the board, because we have some new board members, that this is really the 5th quarter in which we've had the modified Nclex exam. And by modified, I mean that the minimum number of test questions on the exam is 60 items, and the maximum is 130. If you'll recall, before the COVID crisis, the maximum number of test questions on the Nclex RN exam was 265 questions. They also altered the time. When the exam with 265 questions was in place, candidates had 6 hours to do the exam. With the modifications with COVID and after COVID, they moved the exam length to 5 hours. So it's presently 60 items, 130 questions, and 5-hour length of the exam. So we're seeing some of the results of those changes, I believe. So in Table 1 of your document, you can see that California had 12,633 first-time testers and a pass rate of 89.16%. In comparing that with the 2020 period of time, same rolling total, California had a pass rate of 91.60%. So there's been a decrease in this 12-month rolling total for the present time of 2.44%. For the United States and its territories, inclusive of California, the pass rate was the pass rate for this period of time was 84.47%. In the same period in 2020, the pass rate was 87.93. So the national rate for this 12-month rolling total has decreased 3.46% as compared with 2020. The wonderful news is that California's pass rate is 4.69% higher than the national rate for this 12-month period. So California has continued to really excel, even though there have been some changes and a slight dip in the 12-month rolling total pass rate for the period of time. As is customary, I also provide you with some context with other state board jurisdictions with a similar range of first-time testers. And the range we're talking about for this 12-month rolling total is the range of 8,957 to 14,101. California remains the highest at 89.16%, followed by Texas at 88.59%. Ohio is third at 81.33, and New York is at 80.35. What's also interesting, because of course we're carefully monitoring what the possible impact of the COVID changes have been over the past 5 quarters. What's notable is California has the least decrease in its 12-month rolling total at the 2.44%. Texas was at 3.03. Ohio was at 4.67. And New York was at 4.79. So again, California has done a very, very good job, and the candidates have been very successful, even though there are quote, fewer questions on the test and the test length has been adjusted. Are there any questions about the first table? If not, I'm going to move to Table 2, which is to report on the April through June 2021 California quarter. And in this quarter, we had 2,865 first-time testers and a pass rate of 86.18. When you compare that with the April through June of 2020, we had 1,070 more testers in this April through June 2021 quarter, but the pass rate for the April through June quarter has dipped 3.07% as compared with the 2020. At that time, the pass rate for the 1,795 2020 testers was 89.25%. So we are seeing a slight dip in the pass rates in this most recent reporting period. When we look at the quarterly for state board jurisdictions with similar range of testers, North Carolina has the highest at 88.37, followed by California at 86.18. Third is Ohio at 82.39, and New York is at 79.40. Again, when you look at the quarterly results, California's dip in their quarterly pass rates are really the least when you compare all of the other state board jurisdictions that I just cited. Are there any questions about Table 2? Next, I want to just call your attention to the narrative before we move to Table 3. There is a link to the Next Generation Summer 21 newsletter, which talks about the anticipated changes in the scoring that will take place with the launch of the Next Generation Nclex exam, slated to launch tentatively at this point in time, no sooner than April 1 of 2023. And so that link is there for you to review the changes in the scoring that will occur. If there are no questions about that, then I'd like to move to Table 3 of the document. And this is where we report by a degree type what the results are for both the aggregate for national and California. And by degree type, I mean the associate degree is reported there and the baccalaureate and entry-level masters. What you'll note in summary about the April through June results is in the aggregate nationally, there was an increase of 6,144 testers nationally, and in the aggregate, California had an increase of 1,070 first-time testers. Nationally, the decrease in the pass rates reported for the quarter is in the range of 3.1 to 3.4 decrease over the previous 2020 April through June results, and for California, the decrease is the 2.4 to 3.7% for the April through June as compared with the April 2020. Are there any questions about the results or the tables of data? Seeing none, thank you very much for your attention this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Daughtry. Any questions before we move to public comment? Moderator, would you please take us to public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comment. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. And I'd like to take it to a vote. I, Jovita Dominguez, votes yes. Vice President Dolores Trujillo?
I think it's an information item, Chair Dominguez.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's all right. One thing I wanted to add, which I think is notable, I wanted to share with you that in California, there are 13 nursing education programs for the annual period of July 1 through June 30 who achieved 100% pass rate for the annual period. And that really is outstanding that there are 13 programs. I wanted to also share with you there are another 73 who have an annual rate in the 90s, somewhere in the 90s. And finally, there are another 30 that have passed, there are another 42 who have pass rates in the 80s. So we have an extremely large percentage of our 141 programs that are reporting for this period that are really achieving outstanding pass rates.
That's great news. Thank you for that.
Sure. I thought that would be a wonderful way to conclude
To finish, yes.
the report. Thanks very much for your time this morning.
Thank you for being here. Dr. McCarthy, this brings us to licensing division update.
Yes, thank you. Agenda item 8.10, the licensing division update, which will be presented by Macaulay Fisherens, the Chief of Licensing. Macaulay?
Thank you, Marianne. Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, perfect. As Marianne mentioned, my name is Macaulay Fisherens, and I'm the Chief of the Licensing Division. This item is information only, and Lori did cover a lot of this information in her executive officer report yesterday. So there are some things I'll just touch on as to not be too repetitive and keep going through it. So for application processing, the licensing evaluators are currently processing the initial review of California, US, and international exam and endorsement applications that are received in May, APRN applications received in June, outgoing verifications received in June, and inactive to active and back to active requests received in July. As Lori mentioned yesterday, the licensing program continues to look for ways to streamline and improve our processes. And I would like to thank you for approving the previous agenda item, as we are very excited about this new process for our California graduates. We've also implemented some other improvements to streamline processing for all applications. The first was the removal of the paper applications from the board's website. The removal of the paper applications encourages applicants and licensees to submit applications via Breeze online, which reduces the workload for cashiering staff, mailroom staff, as well as the licensing support staff. It also helped to reduce the processing times because it eliminates the mail process for the sorting of the mail for the application to actually get to BRN. It reduces and eliminates the cashiering time to cash those checks. And it also eliminates the need for licensing support to go and manually enter that information from the application into Breeze, as well as scan and attach the application and any other supporting documents to that application record. The second streamlining effort was the removal of the photo requirements from all of our applications, which Lori did discuss yesterday in her executive officer report. Another effort to streamline processes and provide transparencies was the implementation of the application status and details website, which again, Lori discussed yesterday, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. Moving on to our California nursing program transcripts. The BRN continues to receive transcripts via cloud for the California applicants, and we process those applications in the order of the date that the entire cohort of transcripts were received. And again, hopefully, this is our last graduation season with this current process and we can move to that new process. For April through June 2021, the licensing program received confirmation from 139 California programs that transcripts will be received from graduating classes, and these include both RN and APRN programs. The statistics you have in your materials are current as of last week, and staff are working extremely hard on processing these applications, and that includes working overtime on the weekends. So I did ask for updated statistics yesterday, And I'm happy to report that staff have processed an additional 26 programs, which increases the overall number of program processed from 89 to 115. For statistics, the BRN uses custom reports via Qbert to identify areas of improvement, predict workflow fluctuations, and to assign the application workflow to staff. The following information provided in your materials in the various reports is used via the Qbert report that we pull our DCA annual report information from. The average processing time statistic table shows the processing time for exams and endorsement applications. Although our average processing timeframes are higher for this past fiscal year 2021, 55 days for exams and 80 days for endorsements, if you refer to the next table, which is the licensing applications received table, which provides the total number of applications BRN has received, you can see that the increase in time frame does correlate to the increase in application numbers. The total number of applications received for fiscal year 2021 is 57,825, which is over 8,500 more applications received from the prior fiscal year and over 10,000 more applications received since fiscal year 18-19. Additionally, the processing timeframes are more closely aligned to fiscal year 17-18. However, we still received almost 6,000 more applications in fiscal year 2021 than 2018-19. The next table is the additional request received table, which provides the total number of outgoing verifications, which is the out-of-state verifications, and inactive to active requests that the BRN has received by fiscal year. For fiscal year 2021, we received 17,425 verification requests and 926 inactive to active requests. You'll notice that the inactive to active request number is quite a bit lower than the prior fiscal years, and this is due to the COVID waiver that was issued by DCA. The COVID waiver has been extended multiple times. It's DCA-21-165, and that waiver did create the back to active process and waives the continuing education and fee requirement for licensees in a retired and inactive or canceled status. The specific staffing updates are included in your materials, and the licensing program does continue to recruit and retain qualified personnel, and we will continue to monitor business processes and timeframe improvements. This concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
Jovita, you're on mute.
Yep.
Sorry. I appreciate all your energy because I know it's very hard to change process or to make it leaner.
It is, but everyone is extremely excited. We have an amazing team, as Lori mentioned yesterday, that are putting out wonderful ideas, and everyone is really excited for these new technological improvements that we're making. And we just look forward to making more.
Yeah, Macaulay, this is Mary Fagan. I also just want to applaud you and your team for the great work that you're doing. It's going to be so much better for everyone. So very much appreciated.
I agree. Thank you guys so much.
So I believe this concludes 8.0, and we will, I don't know if, I can't remember if it was Betty Woods that was going to take over for Imelda on 9.0.
Jovita, I'm pretty sure we have to go to public comment before we.
I'm sorry, I thought it was.
I know it's information only, but it is information, but I think we still have to go to public comment.
Okay, then moderator, would you please take us to public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Attendance in this, an attendee in the audience with the initials of NM would like to see the tables on the pass rates. Do we have that available, or would that be available after?
I believe that's all available in the materials.
Perfect. Okay, just making sure. Initials NM, if you want to go to our website, rn.ca.gov, go to meetings on the right and go to today's meeting. You'll be able to see it in the meeting materials. Committee Chair Dominguez, there are no public requests for comment. Would you like me to close this window?
You're on mute, Jovita.
This concludes, thank you, moderator. Yes, please. And this concludes 8.0. I believe Betty might be presenting 9.0.
That's correct.
Thank you, Betty.
Hi. This is Elizabeth Woods, and I'm substituting today for Imelda Kotkowitz on the Enforcement Intervention Update. And this is going to be information presented by Shannon Johnson, I believe. Shannon on.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm on now. Can everybody hear me?
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, great. So I am Shannon Johnson. I am the Deputy Chief of Enforcement, and I will be presenting 9.1, which is an overview of the enforcement units. I will start with complaint intake. So we have had all of the support staff across enforcement cross-trained and currently assisting complaint intake with opening of complaints and obtaining arrest records to try and move those complaints along and into the system. In March of 2020, we began tracking the COVID-19 related complaints. And as of July 15th, I've provided in this agenda item summary, a table broken down of the different types of complaints that we've been receiving. For your reference. And you can see that the third one down, a good number of those complaints, once we review them, upon review, we realize that they are not necessarily COVID related. We're continuing to recruit registered nurses for our expert reviews of our cases. There are some areas here where we need the experts, but not limited to these, which is the long-term care, skilled nursing facilities, geriatrics, labor and delivery, nurse anesthetist, ambulatory or clinic nurses, acute rehabilitation, and then in the cosmetic Botox laser arena. I've also included the link here in the agenda item, so if anyone is interested in becoming an expert practice consultant, they can go to this link and fill out the application, or they can email us at theexpert.brn@dca.ca.gov. Any questions on complaint intake before I move on to investigations?
I do have a question, Shannon, about the cosmetic Botox laser experts. Is there something on the BRN website about this whole issue of cosmetic Botox laser care by RNs? The reason that I ask this is because we tend to get quite a few nurses that get hung up in doing things that they really are not supposed to be doing, and many of them don't even have a doctor that is supervising them. So is there information about that on our website?
You know, Betty, I'm not sure if there is something specific to that industry for our ends on our website. All the cases.
Shannon.
Sure,
This
go
is
ahead.
Lori, I'm Executive Officer. We do have a statement on our website that has been board approved and out since April 10th of 2013 that discusses elective cosmetic medical procedures or treatments within the med spa. and it talks about the legislation that was enacted during the 2011-2012 session, and goes in to the discussions around that. Additionally, Shannon, you guys do have subject matter experts that work on specific med spa, Botox, and such complaints. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, thank you for that. It's just that I'm concerned because we see nurses coming before us that have gotten themselves into trouble because they don't understand or don't follow the guidelines. So I don't know if that needs to be moved someplace that people can see it more often, because it is becoming more and more of an issue in these places that are opening up to do this type of care.
Betty, you have something specific that you would like us to address? If you could forward that to us, and we will get an update to our website.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will move on to investigations. So our special investigators continue to work out in the field, of course, following CDC and CDPH guidelines while trying to conduct their interviews. The Attorney General's Office, the Division of Investigation, along with BRN Investigations, we're reviewing the 2017 Investigating BRN Cases Training Guide. And so we're hoping to get some updates and some additional training soon. So we will be providing updates on that as we go along. The table below depicts the number of cases per investigator for the month of June for this year, as well as the last two previous years. So you can see that the number per investigator has gone down slightly. Any questions on investigations? And Scarlett will be doing the overview of the pilot program with Division of Investigations in just a moment. Okay, I will be moving on to discipline. So our discipline unit, as of July 15th, only 11% of our pending cases have been at the AG's office for more than a year. All of our hearings are still being held through OAH, the Office of Administrative Hearings, via the online platform. We're continuing to always reassess all of our processes and procedures right now to try and be as most efficient as possible with our disciplinary cases. The table below in the agenda item summary depicts the average cases per analyst in the discipline unit for the month of June for this year and then the previous 2 years. And as you can see, it's been pretty much cut in half since 2019. So we're down to 65 cases per analyst. If there are no questions, I'll move on to probation. The probation unit continually is monitoring for improvements. We're right now working at 100% telework capacity with all of our analysts in probation, and that is thanks to the support staff that have been going into the office and uploading mail and documents so our analysts can continue to work at home. And the table that I've provided here is the number, or the average number of probationers per monitor for the month of June and the last 2 years for the months of June. And as you can see, we've pretty much stayed the same throughout the last few years in probation. Any questions on probation? Okay, I will move on to intervention. The intervention program staff attended the National Organization of Alternative Programs, it's NOAP, at their 2021 virtual conference, which was attended by representatives from various state alternative programs throughout the United States. This was really nice because it was virtual. It was free to our staff, and it was the first time we've actually been able to have all of our staff attend this NOAP conference. So this was really nice to have on an online platform. The intervention program continues to actively recruit for our IEC members, which are 2 in the Bay Area for a public and a registered nurse, physician, Fresno for a registered nurse, Palm Springs for a physician, Ontario for a public member, and then in Northern California for a physician member. And I've included the link on our agenda item summary. If there is anyone who is interested in becoming an IEC member, they can go to our website under the intervention tab and see more information on how to become an IEC member, the criteria to become an IEC member, and then there's also an application that they can fill out that would be submitted to our intervention program for review. Any questions on intervention?
You know, I just have a process question. I find myself right now flipping between the meeting materials and the WebEx presentation, and I'm wondering if it's possible, Lori, this is probably a question for you or moderator, that when we're referring to these tables, they could be pulled up on the screen so that we can all see them. Is that a potential in the future, or is that just technologically too challenging?
Let me actually check with our board moderator, as he is head of our IT. Mark.
We are discussing that right now. 1 second. Let's see.
Or the other thing, if we can't do that, if it's too hard, to make sure all the tables are labeled so that and when you're referring to it, just let us know exactly what table it is. So I felt like I was playing a little bit of catch up, trying to keep up with what you were saying and making sure I was looking at the correct table. So I just want to make sure we all are able to look at the same information.
If we post up, Jen said if we post up the tables, that will take down the slide. If that's okay, they'll look different, but it'll be from the meeting materials.
Yeah, I think if we go to this slide at 9.0, open it up, and then share tables and other stuff, and then come back to the slide for the next agenda item, that's completely appropriate.
Okay.
That would be really helpful to me, so thank you.
One second.
Thank you guys so much for working through that.
Okay, we're gonna give it a test run and we'll see how it goes. And next meeting, if that's okay.
That works for me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so and if that doesn't work, I'm more than happy to label the tables as well for future meetings. So that was it for the units. I've also included the statistical information. I believe it is on page 4 of the agenda item summary, and it is a comparison of fiscal year 2021 quarter 4 to fiscal year 1920 quarter 4. And as you can see, by the end of this fiscal year, our total complaints received was up by 200. I know last quarter it looked like we were down, but we got quite a few more complaints in the last quarter of 2021, which increased our complaints by about 250 cases. So for ending of that fiscal year, or ending of that quarter. And then our average time to close is slightly up for that quarter by about just under 30 days. And the number of investigations is up slightly for the quarters from last year. For DFI, they were at 125. This quarter 4, they were at 244. The referrals for the BRN were at 214, and they're up about 75, 80 cases, 304. And then, as you can see, probation pretty much stays the same over the last year in that quarterly comparison. As well as, sorry, and I skipped over citations. Citations has also stayed fairly similar to quarter 4 in the previous fiscal year. Below that statistical data, we also have the fiscal year comparison, our current fiscal year to the past couple fiscal years. You can see that our cases older than 1 year, we were up at almost 150 in fiscal year 1920. Current fiscal year, we're at about 50 at our current fiscal year to date. And then our BRN investigations older than a year, we're at 12. DFI over a year, we're at 56, which is a really large drop from fiscal year 1920, where they were at 121 cases. So they've more than 50% less than what they were in that fiscal year for our current fiscal year. And then for fiscal year ending 2021, our arrest convictions received were about 500 less than our previous fiscal year, as well as the complaints received about 500 less. Applications received were actually higher by about 300. So that gives you, and all of that information is as of July 14th, 2021. Are there any questions on the stats?
I'm just really glad to see these cases, those older cases going down, because for a few years that had been a major problem. We had nurses that had complaints against them and they weren't figured out until a couple of years later while the nurse continued to work. So I'm really glad to see that. Thank you, Shannon, for this report.
You're welcome. Yeah, and it's one of the biggest decreases that I've seen from last fiscal year is our pending cases with the Attorney General's office. We were at about 744 in our fourth quarter of the previous fiscal year, and this most recent fiscal year we ended with only 461. So we significantly dropped our cases. A lot of the aging cases has been dropping off, which has been helping our numbers significantly.
It's really nice. Thank you.
Shannon,
You're welcome.
this is Mary. I have a question. Can you remind me what our goal is for average time to close?
It's 540 days from beginning to end. And you know, I know that that's being looked at possibly again to see if, and it's been talked about in previous enforcement meetings on whether that number is an adequate number goal, because I don't believe that any of the boards really are meeting that number. So I know that that is going to be looked at in the future.
Okay, and another, just so I understand, so when we're looking at an average of 654 days to close, but then if we go down to your fiscal year comparison table, it looks like very few cases that are over a year, older than a year, and yet the days to close are, you know, getting close to 2 years. So can you help me? I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding.
Absolutely. So when you're looking at the quarter four comparison, when we say on average, so you could have two cases that because we've had continued hearing dates, maybe we had to request a supplemental investigation, and that has extended them beyond the 2 or 3 years. That's going to skew your number for your overall average or your overall numbers for the fiscal year comparison. So for the most part, and what it may be better to look at is what percentage of cases are you know, being closed within that time frame, because there can be a handful that, because of the length of time they take, they will skew the average number to be higher than you know what you're really looking at.
You know what would be really helpful to include would be not just the average, but the median. Because if you use the median, that takes into account the outliers and really gives you a better assessment of performance overall. So
yeah,
that
we
might,
can
yeah,
absolutely we can add that.
If we've got a bunch of outliers that are making that number go artificially high, then we probably should be assessing toward the median. So.
Yeah, and if you look at it, the cases over a year old, they're so low that you know that those cases are the ones that are probably the extended cases that are really skewing all of the other numbers. So I'd be more than happy to add the median in there.
Lori, do you know, is this average time, is that a benchmark against for all the boards as well as outside other boards of nursing in other states? You know, is that what the benchmark is, or?
We do not have a benchmark with the other boards and bureaus throughout the United States. This is a DCA benchmark for the boards and bureaus that are under DCA that have enforcement and intervention programs.
So then we
And
definitely
then-
need to look at both, but from my
Yes.
perspective, I think really for setting our target, internal target, maybe more around the median, knowing that sometimes you just can't control outliers.
Yeah, absolutely. We started looking at the enforcement process back in, goodness, I believe July of last year, when we, as earlier we kind of discussed with the investigative CSA report that came out. And so we started looking at all of the audit recommendations from 2016. The 2016 enforcement audit, the sole purpose of that was to reduce the processing times within BRN down to this 540-day mark. So with that review process, there were areas, I think there was 8 areas that were identified that we can improve on. However, we did implement all of the recommendations from CSA. What was noted by going through that audit, internal audit process, related to the 2016 California state audit process, was that maybe the number of 540 was not appropriate. So we actually, with feedback from DCA, are looking at the Med Board enforcement intervention process, BVNPT enforcement intervention process, and really seeing what we can do to more closely align between the healing arts boards under DCA. And that did, as Shannon stated, open up the question whether or not 540 days is appropriate, or if there is a better way of tracking that. 540 days may be appropriate for the majority of our cases, but there may be some cases that fall out of that we need to have a specific call out for, so that our numbers are not skewed, kind of how you have identified here. So it looks like we're all in agreement. We're moving in the right process to evaluate this and align, so that we are not an outlier here. And that's something that we can do as an opportunity to improve here.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I wanted to ask you, Shannon, and perhaps I'm wrong about this, but over the more than 8 years that I've been on the board, I've reviewed thousands of these cases. And it appears to me that it's the nursing practice issue cases that take longer to resolve, unfortunately. And maybe I'm not correct with this, but it seems that cases that involve alcohol or drugs, or somebody's gotten involved with the criminal justice system, those seem to come up and be resolved pretty quickly. But when there's a nursing practice issue, patient death or a patient that has been injured, those seem to take the longest. Am I not correct in this, or am I correct?
Well, you know, a few years back, and I'm not sure if you remember this, but we started a project with the Attorney General's office, and we're calling them fast track cases, and those were the paper cases. And the paper cases, I mean that those are the cases that it's arrest convictions, that where we only have to obtain a paper record and the out-of-state disciplines. Those are on a fast track case level, and they get moved very, very quickly. The patient-related cases, the reason that they take a while is because we have to obtain medical records, we have to do interviews, and those do take a little bit longer.
Okay.
If there's no other questions, I will go ahead and hand it over to Scarlett for 9.1.1.
Thank you, Shannon, for your report.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Scarlett Treviso. I'm the Deputy Chief of Investigations. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm going to report to you this morning on our DFI pilot program. The DFI pilot program, as you all know, was developed to help with the quality of care complaints. And it was started back in September of 2019 and continues today. And as you can see on the paperwork that was provided to you, as of July 14th, there have been 195 cases submitted for BRN investigation. that met those new case referral guidelines. And to date, 139 have been completed and 56 are pending. There's a chart below that gives you the days and number of cases and the percentages split between BRN and the Division of Investigation. Can I answer any questions?
I don't have any questions over it.
I'm just wondering, have we established a goal of what we're trying to achieve?
Achieve with the pilot program?
Yeah.
So initially, the pilot was put in place to assist with getting the more egregious cases that involve patient harm, patient death done in a more timely manner. And I think it was continued for the very same reason. And each year that it gets evaluated, that will be done. There was also a separate component to the pilot where there was some triage work up front for the cases that were being sent to DFI, where records were being obtained, and some basic work for the complaint so that when it got to DFI, or maybe it didn't even go to DFI, that it would stay with BRN so that we weren't sending cases that didn't necessarily need to go. So we did some upfront work, if that makes sense. So I think it's working. I think it's helping both BRN and DFI, and
the overall goal was to keep as many. I just see if I'm interpreting this correctly, was to keep as many within the BRN as possible, so that they could be handled earlier, and then the DOI would be able to deal with a lesser volume. Is that what the pilot was about?
Yes, but also so that DFI could deal with the more egregious cases such as sexual assault or diversion, and the BRN investigators could handle the patient care cases such as death cases or such, but the diversion cases or the potential cases that involve criminal action could be handled by DFI in a more timely manner.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Anybody else?
This is the issue that I was raising before, that we have cases that involve nursing practice, and many times, there is a way, if there's a really major nursing practice issue, that we can stop a nurse from working, but many times there's an accusation and we don't know where that accusation is going to go, so we can't stop a nurse from working during the time of the investigation, which can go on, as you see, a year or sometimes more, and that nurse is continuing to work without any restrictions. As a nurse, this is an issue that I find very serious, but and we're working on it, and there is work being done and has been done, and it's still out there, that we don't have a quick way to deal with these cases.
Betty, this is Shannon. I just wanted to just make a comment. So we do have our interim suspension orders that we can do through the administrative law judge going to hearing. What happens though with those is we have to have the evidence already obtained, and so I think that's where the cases are not aging, but we're it's taking some time to obtain those records. If we were able to get the evidence in a quicker format, we could probably do interim suspension orders more often than not. It's just a matter of obtaining that evidence, because once we do the interim suspension order, we have a very small window of time where we have to file the accusation, and we can't file an accusation either unless we have the evidence to prove the cause for discipline. So that's where we fall into that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I recognize this, but it continues to be an issue for all these various reasons. Thank you.
And I can also share with you that we are actively working on legislation to provide the investigation unit with better means to obtain records in a more timely manner. Currently, many facilities, require us to issue subpoenas, and that time frame extends the life of the investigation because facilities, even with releases, don't allow us to have obtain the records. We have to issue these subpoenas, and that's their choice if they require us to issue those subpoenas. So we are actively working on other ways to obtain records and get things in a more timely manner, but we only can work with what we currently have. And investigators are very diligent about following up to get records and obtain what they need and do witness interviews. But facilities and legal representation, extend time out too. So there's only, as you said, we're working on it. There's only so much we can do, but it is actively being pursued, and DCA leadership is very supportive of this. And so it is something we recognize and are working on.
Thank you.
And then this is Lauria, just to provide some clarification. Scarlett mentioned that we are actively working on legislation. We are not actually actively working on legislation. What we are doing, it was put into our sunset report, and the request was made through our sunset for the legislators to consider adding that to the sunset bill. So that's the specific legislative update that has been requested. We have not sought out a bill writer, and we have not started working on it in that realm. The legislative update would be through the sunset bill update if that is something that the legislative staff considers. And then, yes, Scarlett is correct that DCA has reviewed that. They are aware of that ask, and we're supportive of that ask going forth to the sunset bill and that report process.
Thanks for the clarification, Lori.
You're welcome. It's just a couple different processes, so I just wanted to make sure that's clear.
And I have one more question. Lori, you gave such a great report with your executive officer report yesterday and talked about the work and especially the low-hanging fruit that you've been able to address in terms of the licensing, so the photos and the transcripts. And I know you said that there's going to be similar work done on the enforcement side. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of what that may look like, or if you've found or think that there's any low-hanging fruit in this process that might be able to really speed things along?
Yeah, I can kind of share a little bit. We're in early discussion phases with this. And so as you guys are aware, there were some vacancies in the upper kind of level management areas of enforcement over the last year. And other managers have stepped in and kind of cross-trained and moved into supportive roles within that, including our Assistant Executive Officer, Yvonne, has really kind of stepped into the enforcement oversight role. By doing so and having various meetings with each one of the units, it was brought up by enforcement staff that potentially a realignment or a reorganization of the enforcement unit would be of benefit. Right now, we did undergo a kind of org chart update a couple years ago, but it's always good to kind of do that plan, do, check, act, right? So you plan it out, you do it, you check and see if it's still working, and then act on anything that needs to be addressed that maybe didn't work out as originally thought that it would be done. So through feedback with various staff and management levels within the enforcement, they are looking at that. Additionally, we do have meetings with some other staff who had talked about the enforcement process and looking at the intervention process and the probation process, looking to see whether or not the nurses that tend to kind of fail out of some of the programs are chemically dependent, and maybe they need to be in intervention versus being in probation. So we're even looking at that process. We are also automating a lot of the paper processes, and there's a unit within enforcement that's actually completely paperless, and they were the first one to become completely paperless and do a completely paperless process. And so that was very exciting. We are moving towards updating and using Breeze more often. Breeze is the data system that is also used for licensing, but it's used to annotate different areas within the enforcement unit, and that is used consistently through other boards and bureaus. And so we are trying to align more into using the Breeze data. The other thing that we've noticed is cross-training is needed. There are some support staff in there, and there are needs when people go on vacation or take an extended medical leave, when processes start to increase in one area. So they've been kind of cross-training various staff and trading them in between different areas to be incredibly helpful. It's an amazing team that our enforcement unit kind of makes up, and they're always, always supportive. So those are kind of the big things that are in discussion. And again, nothing has specifically moved, but those are the beginning phases of discussion. Now, one thing that will affect, based on the licensing process update, is that there will no longer be a need for the waiver process for the applicant that is going for initial exam. That has an enforcement issue that is extending their licensing process. There will no longer be a delay for them to take their licensing examination. So that will affect enforcement immediately. And then other than that, we have opened up discussions, and the staff is very excited to be heard and listened to and have their recommendations considered.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Scarlett, do you have more to report?
No, I don't. I will turn it back over to Shannon.
Okay, thank you very much for your report.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I will be reporting on 9.2. And 9.2 is the discussion and possible action regarding appointment of our Intervention Evaluation Committee members. We have 3 at this time. The first one is Christine Varakis, and that's a physician member in IEC2 Fairfield. Barbara Leva, RN member in IEC4 Santa.
Shannon,
Yes.
I'm so sorry. We did not go out to public comment on the last item.
Oh, okay.
So we do need to, on item 9.1, go out to public comment.
Okay. Mark, could you open up the public comment, please?
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Woods, there are no public requests for comments. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, Shannon, can we go on to agenda item
Yes.
9.2, please?
Yes, so as I was saying, this is for the possible action regarding appointment of our Intervention and Evaluation Committee members. There are 3. Christine Varakis, physician member in IEC2 Fairfield, Barbara Leva, RN member in IEC4 Santa Ana, and Michelle Buckman, another RN member in IEC4 Santa Ana. Christine and Michelle, their term expirations will be June 30, 2025. Barbara Leva's term expiration would be June 30th, 2024. And so if I could get a motion to approve.
I will make the motion to approve.
I'll second, it's Mary.
We need to go out to the public comment. Do we have any comments from the board about these individuals? Then Mark, if we can go out to the public, please.
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Woods, there are no public requests for comment. Oh, I'm sorry, somebody snuck in. Hold on here. Nope, there are no public requests for comments. Would you like me to close this window, please?
Yes, thank you. Okay, well, I will like to take the vote on this, accepting these candidates, and Woods votes yes.
Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Mary Fagan.
Mary Fagan votes yes.
Jovita Dominguez.
Jovita Dominguez votes yes.
Susan Naranjo.
Susan votes yes.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes 9.2.
Thank you, Shannon, for your report.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And that is the end of 9.0, and we will go to 10.0.
10.0, 10.1, discussion of bills of interest to the Board of Registered Nursing Board and possible action regarding adoption or modification of positions on bills introduced during the 2020 to 2021 legislative session. Is Gurpreet present? Gurpreet Kaur?
She is. Gurpreet, are you there? Gurpreet, your video and audio are available.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I can. Let me start video in just a moment, please. I apologize. This is should get that on in just a moment. Is the video on, or can you see me, or is that still? I see a black screen there, but
I don't see you, Gurpreet.
It shows you're having an internet problem, Gurpreet.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
There we are. All right. Let's see. So good morning, Chair Trujillo, board members. So we have 13 bills notated in red on the agenda which require action. 12 bills, that is, except for AB 457, have recommended positions from the June 24th Legislative Committee meeting. The board can choose to accept these positions in one vote or have further discussion. AB 457 was added after the recent legislative committee meeting, so this will be presented to you, following which the board can vote on the motioned position. So broadly, there are just only two action items for legislative affairs. However, if the board or any member wishes to discuss or has questions on any of the 46 total bills being tracked, direct and indirect impact, you are most welcome to do that. I want to point out that 20 of the 46 bills are now two-year bills. That is, in this year of the two-year legislative session, they were either not heard or did not pass out of the relevant policy or fiscal committee. These may still move in 2022. There are 13 active direct impact bills, of which Assembly Bill 1532 is the BRN Sunset Extension Bill. This was amended on July 13th and passed in the Senate Policy Committee, that is the Business, Professions, and Economic Development Committee. The amendment grants the board an extension of 1 year until January 1st, 2023. The amendment also provides that a member of the board is only required to be at least 18 years of age and a resident of California. Sunset hearings will be held next year to determine the next extension term. If the legislature is persuaded that its standards are being met and areas of deficiencies have been addressed or started to be effectively addressed, it can then provide BRN with the customary 4-year extension. So bill summaries for all tracked bills have been included for you to provide a high-level ease of review as well as a reference guide. The legislature is currently in summer recess until August 16th. August 27th is the last day for fiscal, that is appropriations committees, to meet and report bills to the floor. August 30th to September 10th is floor session only. The last day to amend bills is September 3rd, and September 10th is the last day for each house to pass bills, following which the legislature will adjourn until January 3rd, 2022. Links to the legislative calendar and process are included in the agenda item summary. There was a question yesterday regarding the continuation of the current teleconferencing format of meetings. This provision and change to the Bagley-Keene Act is part of a budget trailer bill. The budget bill, of course, and about 50 trailer bills have already been passed. The remaining ones will be acted upon after August 16th. Once this particular bill passes, it will take effect immediately. So teleconferencing for open meetings should continue on. And we will, of course, keep you updated on the status. So before moving on to the two action items, if you have any questions, please do let me know.
So the main bill that we're going to report on today is AB 457.
That is correct. That is correct, Chair Trujillo. And you will also be voting on, to accept the recommended positions from the Legislative Committee on the rest of the 12 bills. On the other 12 bills highlighted in red, notated in red on the agenda.
Okay.
I have a question. I apologize that I missed this part of the meeting at the last meeting, but the bill that I just want to understand our position on is 410 about the nursing licensure compact. I'm not sure who the best person would be to help just clarify why we were taking this position as a board to not support it.
Totally. I think Lori can probably address why, and I can let you know that that bill, of course, is now a 2-year bill, but it can be acted upon in 2022. But as to why, that is something Chair Trujillo, if you'd like to address, or Lori.
There are concerns around this bill, Mary, that nurses will be brought into the state and work at different hospitals, possibly bypassing our new grads and nurses who are within the state. We felt that the jobs and those positions should go to those nurses first. and every opportunity given to our new grads and our nurses within the state for job opportunities. There was questions of, as far as educational requirements from nurses who come from out of state, questions regarding how discipline might be handled, such as the fingerprinting versus no fingerprinting. Some states have requirements for CEs, such as California. Some states do not. So there were varying factors that we had discussed. I believe you were at the first meeting that we discussed this bill. I believe it came up for a discussion a second time, which was the meeting that you were not in attendance.
Yeah, help me, just want to understand. You said you didn't want nurses from out of state to bypass our nurses in our state. Help me understand what that would look like. What would a bypass look like?
So nurses coming on a compact license in state to work, there was thought that some of those jobs or positions, rather than the facilities bringing nurses in just to work and going back out, that maybe those are jobs that are licensed nurses and are new grads within the state could be provided for that opportunity versus just facilities bringing nurses in to work and then leaving the state.
Do we have any?
I can jump in a little bit as well. I can pull up the meeting minutes where discussions were memorialized. I can make sure that you have a copy of that as well. I know that some of the discussions, as Dolores spoke about, were around the varying licensing requirements from state to state, including CEs. It was also, there was discussion around what the jurisdiction with discipline, if it happened in state and they were licensed elsewhere, where would that be and where would that lie? And so there were some discipline issues that were discussed with that as well during the vote process. Other things that have come out, and I believe this was shared with at the Sunset hearing, was when Senator Roth spoke with the representative from NCSBN that was talking about the compact. Is one of the issues that was brought up was whether or not a social security number was required. The compact does require a social security number to be issued to the licensee. In our state, we actually accept the ITIN as well as the social security number. So our ITIN applicants would not be able to be a member of the compact. And that was a concern that was brought up during Sunset by Senator Roth. The other one was the discussion of a fingerprint requirement. Not all states have a fingerprint requirement. We do. And additionally, there was discussion around the intent of that. And so some of the discussion, I believe, was around the traveling nurse, because the way that the compact is set up right now with NCSBN is that you do still have to go through the BRN, our California BRN endorsement process into the state because they have to change their home state. So the compact would allow for the traveling nurses to come in and traveling nurses to be available. But if you wanted permanent placement, you would have to change your home state, and that home state change, licensing change, would have to go through the in California endorsement licensing process. And that was clarified as well by NCSBN during the Sunset hearing as to why that process is built into there. So I know the board took a position at that point. When the legislative cycle opens back up in the following year and this bill becomes active again, we can go right back out into the board meeting at that, if we decide to at that point to reopen up the position. But right now this bill hasn't changed and is not moving. because of it being a 2-year bill. So when we go into the legislative cycle for next year, we can bring that forward and have further discussions on it if you do want to do that. Additionally, there have been new data that's been released from NCSBN where it shows that the new grads are having a very difficult time finding positions, that the hospitals are seeking the experienced RN over the new grad RN. There was also another study that was released, and I'm blanking on who did this study. It came out of Arizona. I can research that and find it for you. I believe I shared it out to the board members previously, where it showed that California specifically did not have a favorable job market for the new grads because of the positions and the way that the hospitals were managing COVID right now, and the layoffs and the staffing changes and everything. So I know that there's a lot of discussion, a lot of input on this. We can bring it back up for discussion when that bill becomes active again in the next legislative season. And if the board members at that time want to reevaluate their position, that's a perfect opportunity to do that. Did that answer all your questions, Marion? Do you want me to try to find those meeting minutes and make sure that you have them so that you're aware of the discussions that happened between the board members to come up with that vote?
Actually, if you could put your finger on them faster than I could, Lori, I'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll work with our board staff right now to identify them.
Yeah, I would like to have a chance to discuss this again because I know more and more states are joining the compact, and I'm sure those that are joining now have some of the same concerns that we had. And I know that the compact is trying to have their standards aligned so that we all are holding our nurses accountable to the same standard. But from the perspective of supporting a process for traveling nurses to get to California, that is critically important from someone like me who lives on the operations side. Pediatrics didn't experience the huge surge last year when COVID surged the adult facilities. We are seeing that now. Now with this variant is attacking kids. And because kids are now back and out and about, all the other respiratory viruses that basically were on hold last year are now, usually they're in the winter, they're all here in the summer. We are desperate for nurses. We have a call out for 40 ICU nurses and we're a 500 bed hospital. We're not huge like some others. And 40 acute care nurses just to help staff, because we literally have people walking out of our emergency department because we can't see them. We're the only children's hospital in San Diego. There's really not another place for them to go. We almost had to close to trauma the other night because we literally did not have nurses. All my directors are doing clinical. So we desperately need clinical nurses. Traveling nurses help us, and they tell us they can't get into California because it takes too long to get their license by endorsement. So it's a serious problem, and I want to make sure we're not letting a few things that we think might be a potential problem get in the way of addressing a real one.
I absolutely hear you on that, Mary. So I wanted to address that in a couple different ways. One, I want to make sure that you have the contact for Emsa. Emsa is still activated and going strong within our state. And the facility is the one that makes the request to Emsa to have out-of-state RNs come in directly to their facility to help out. They can be travelers as well. They can be in-state RNs that are still waiting on licensure. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that and that you would direct your healthcare institution to contact directly with Emsa. Emsa is the emergency process that is used within the state of California. It bypasses the BRN. And when we're in a state of emergency like this, that is opened up and allows out-of-state RNs to come in and practice while tied to a specific facility within the state of California during the emergency order. So please, please use that. And if you need assistance accessing that, let me know and I will assist you and your facility in getting that in there. Additionally, as soon as fingerprints are cleared, what was that?
I said I definitely want that information on Emsa.
Yes, I will get that information to you. I'm writing me a note right now to get you connected with Emsa. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing that I'm not sure that a lot of people know, that within California, because we are not a member of the compact, that we do have an alternate method to get out-of-state RNs in during a state of emergency to assist. it does completely bypass the BRN licensing process. And that RN is specifically tied to a facility. That facility makes the request, they get an assignment of RNs, and that allows for Emsa to let that facility know when that state of emergency ends. And as soon as its state of emergency ends, those RNs that are out of state license are no longer allowed to practice within California. So it makes it a very clean and clear process. And just so that you guys are aware, that has been in effect since the early stages of COVID last year. And we have thousands and thousands of out-of-state RNs that are working in our licensed healthcare facilities throughout the state to assist with the COVID fight. So that is up and working. Additionally, we do have a temporary license that is available to anybody that comes in to apply for the endorsement. That temporary license for anybody that does not meet our specific licensing requirements based on education, they can utilize that temporary license initially for 6 months and then extend that to an additional 6 months if that extension is needed while they clear up and meet the education licensing standards. That licensing is based on prior discipline in other states. And the temporary issuance of temporary license is based on prior discipline in other states and whether or not we have fingerprint clearance here. We did change our licensing process to allow for that to be expedited. What we found during this last year with COVID is that with the endorsement applications and the temporary license application, that the biggest delay was the fingerprint process. We are not able to have our out-of-state RNs do a live scan verification if they are not in California. That is a Department of Justice requirement. And so they have to do a hard card fingerprint process. That hard card fingerprint process for licensing can take up to 3 months. And that is a delay, but that is a requirement that all of our licensees within California have a clear fingerprint. And so based on that, we looked at the licensing process and we run a report now every single morning to pull out every single applicant that has clear fingerprints. As soon as those clear fingerprints are received in the morning, that report is dispersed out to licensing staff and those applications are processed first. They get front of the line passes essentially at that point because their fingerprints are cleared and we can license them 100%. So there are various processes that we can work with, Mary, to really kind of help you and your facility through this. And so I want to make sure that you know that those resources are available and that our endorsement applicants have that process to do that. Additionally, what we talked about yesterday is with the largest load, the 6,000 plus California grads that are coming out and being licensed or given the authorization to test, and that being an automated process, that allows us to shift our workload. And that allows us to shift our workload and focus specifically on the endorsement apps into California so that those are able to be processed in a much timelier fashion. So the goal is that with the license update to the California grad process, that it will decrease all of our processing times for all of the other areas that we do. That next step that is on our enlightened license process is this endorsement in, which would manage the temporary license and the traveler nurses and the endorsement applications. The other thing is we started working with Macaulay Fuserans, who was previously given the licensing update, our chief of licensing. She and I and our assistant executive officer have been meeting with the executive officers of the various traveling agencies. They were doing a very paper-heavy application process. They were sending in checks and they were hand-delivering paper applications for license by endorsement. And so we started meeting with the traveling companies saying, why are you guys doing this? We explained to them that there is a process within our online system that allows for a third-party payer, that allows for a third party to come in and manage that application. And so with that information that's been shared, we have encouraged our traveling agencies to complete the online endorsement application and submit payment online. therefore expediting their endorsement process. That was a process that they had not been doing in the past. And in fact, they were hand filling out each one of the paper applications for endorsement into California and issuing a specific check with people hand delivering boxes of these applications to our front door, even when the BRN was closed to the public. So we really had to do a reach out to those travel agencies. We really had to let them know that the BRN has an online accessible application that they can manage for their employees, and that they can submit a third-party payee for them to pay for these endorsement applications, because that is what a lot of our traveling nursing companies do. So Macaulay is continuing to work with them on that. We did, in the report that Macaulay shared, take down the paper application off of our website, further encouraging them to go to the online modality that is weeks faster. And then one of the builds that we were able to do, just that was released in April, was allowing an online payment for endorsements and verifications. So we now have the ability to accept the online payment as well. So a lot of those foundational things that we talked about having to be implemented in IT first to speed up that process. So we hear the call, we are jumping up and answering that. If the compact bill is passed next year in legislation, it doesn't solve the licensing problems and stuff that we experience within California. So because of that, we've had to address our endorsement process, because as stated, the temporary nurse can come in and out, but if you move here and change your home state, you do have to endorse into California. And so we wanted to make sure that we address that process too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And my board staff actually sent me a couple emails during my little speech right there. That has information for you, Mary. I'll go ahead and edit it, make sure that it's has everything in there, and I'll get that out to you before the end of this meeting.
Thank you, Lori. Okay, Capri, can we move on?
Sure, absolutely. So, Chair Trujillo, would you like to first take a vote on accepting the Legislative Committee recommended positions for the bills in red, the 12 bills, or first consider AB 457? That's your call.
We can consider AB 457 and then take a vote for all of them together, because that would be included also, correct? 457.
You could do that. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so AB 457 by Assemblymember Santiago was brought to our attention from outside the BRN and was incorrectly added to the direct impact list. The agenda was posted before the correction could be made. So this is actually an indirect impact bill. That is, it will not be implemented by the BRN, but since it pertains to healthcare access through telehealth, it would be of interest. So this bill was sponsored by the CMA, California Medical Association. It relates to health insurance plans and falls under the jurisdiction of the California Department of Insurance, CDI, and the California Department of Managed Healthcare, which is DMHC. It establishes requirements on health plans and insurers prior to arranging for telehealth service through a third-party corporate telehealth provider, if telehealth is not available within the insurance network for members. So in brief, these requirements on health plans and insurers are: one, providing information to patients so that they can make informed decisions regarding access to third-party corporate telehealth providers. This information includes explaining to patients that third-party corporate telehealth providers could be located anywhere geographically, and this service would not be amenable to in-person visits with that telehealth provider. Also, number two, this bill would require third-party corporate telehealth providers to share records of any services provided to a patient with the patient's primary care provider. Currently, the onus is on the patients to share this information with their primary care providers. So there's that gap really, and not uniformity of care, which is currently the status. So additionally, number 3, it would provide that the payment or receipt of money for internet-based advertising, appointment booking, or any service that provides information and resources to prospective patients of licensees does not constitute a referral of a patient if the internet-based service provider does not recommend, endorse, arrange for, or otherwise select a licensee for that prospective patient. So, as per the bill's author, Assemblymember Santiago, the intent of the bill is to make healthcare accessible for all, especially for underserved communities. This bill would enable patients to see a provider of their choice and would make it easier for records from a telehealth visit to be forwarded to a patient's primary doctor so that the patient receives the necessary follow-up care and treatment. This bill is supported by several physician groups and opposed primarily by health insurance companies. According to the latter, health insurance companies, this bill sets up extra and unnecessary barriers before patients may access telehealth services and limits telehealth options that offer more convenient and affordable quality care to California patients. And also that care delivery is evolving, especially due to COVID-19, and consumers as well as providers are becoming more comfortable with virtual care. So this bill is in the Senate Appropriations Committee's suspense file. All bills in the suspense file will have a vote-only hearing, that is with no public testimony, before August 27th to determine if the bill will move to the floor or be held in committee and become a 2-year bill. So, so that is the background on AB 457. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Ms. Betty, I have some questions about this. This assumes that somebody has already insurance, has already a primary care provider.
That is correct, yes.
I think any type of a information on the patient should go to the patient also, not to a primary care provider, which you may or may not have.
Exactly, and I think that what they're trying to do is make sure that the patient also has this, because it's basically what your interaction with that corporate telehealth provider is that information is then communicated to that patient's primary care provider, because that's not currently practiced. That is something the patient would have to themselves provide to the primary care provider.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the position for the California Hospital Association is for this bill?
The California Hospital Association, I can take a look. I'm not sure if they made formed it or communicated a position on this, but I can quickly take a look. So remember, Fagan, you mentioned California Hospital Association?
Yes, I was just wondering if they had a position on this.
I don't see one. Nothing from them on the analysis listed from the Health Committee on June 21st. So
all right,
there's another analysis on from July 21st as well.
Who's in favor of it and who's opposed? And in terms of
California Medical Association is the sponsor, and California Academy of Family Physicians. They're supporting. Other supporting groups are California Chapter of the American College of Physicians Services, California Chronic Care Coalition, California Commission on Aging, California Orthopedic Association, Community Clinic Association of Los Angeles County, Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, California, and ZocDoc. In opposition are Advanced Medical Technology Association, America's Health Insurance Plans, American Telemedicine Association, Association of California Life and Health Insurance Companies, California Association of Health Plans, California Chamber of Commerce, HealthNet and its affiliated companies, Teladoc Health Incorporated.
So I would like to make a motion that the board takes a position of watch on this bill. It has very little to no impact on the board.
This is Susan. I'll second.
Excuse me?
I second.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Brn Moderator, can we open it up for public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Curtis Lang would like to make a comment. Go ahead, Curtis.
Thank you. I'm Curtis Lang with the California Nurses Association. I just have a comment on one bill, and that's AB 1407. Not sure if we're going to get to that one yet, but this one's on implicit bias in nursing education. CNA is a sponsor of this bill, and I just wanted to note quickly that we have amended the bill. It was amended on 7/15, and the amendments do the following. It makes implicit bias requirements a graduation requirement and not a license requirement. It makes it clear that the bill doesn't require curriculum revision or affect license endorsement into California, and delay implementation of the new licensee requirement to allow the board time to promulgate regulations. I'd just like to thank Loretta Melby for her assistance in helping us make sure the bill is implementable and that it works for the BRN. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Michelle Perea Ryan would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Go ahead, Ms. Perea Ryan.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to discuss AB 457 a little and just have us think about that we may be having nurse practitioners from other states caring for patients in our state, as telemedicine continues, and what would that impact be? So just something to keep on, the back burner. And then also that, we also need to support our patients. I think access is very important, but at the same time, we don't want disjointed care that actually, decreases outcomes for our patients. And so those are just thoughts to keep in mind as we're watching these bills. So that is my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perea. Sorry, I messed up your name there. Ms. Perea Ryan. Sue would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Go ahead, Sue.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you all for allowing the public to join. The comment, I really had a question about nurses that have moved to California, been endorsed, and they're older and wanting to return back into practice. I'm having a really hard time trying to find a job to help when I've heard that there's a shortage. Do you know who I could reach out to find out what I can do? Because I've already done a nurse refresher course. I have my master's degree and I want to help generally in an inpatient practice.
Thank you, Sue. Susan Engel would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Go ahead, Susan Engel.
Hi, this is Sue Engel. I have a question regarding Emsa and nurses coming into the state of California to practice. Who has jurisdiction if they have a disciplinary issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Just a reminder to the attendees, if you would like to make a comment, please submit, I would like to make a comment. Board President Trujillo, there are no more public requests for comment. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, we have a first and second on the table for AB 457 for the board to watch this bill, and we'd like to take it to a vote. Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Vice President Mary Fagan?
Is this just for 457?
At this point.
Okay, I vote yes.
Okay, Elizabeth Woods?
Woods, yes.
Jovita Dominguez?
Jovita Dominguez votes yes.
And Susan Naranjo?
Susan votes yes.
Thank you. So it's my understanding at this time that we will need to take a position or a vote on the remaining 12 items.
That is correct, Chair Trujillo. Now, these are the 12 bills remaining, and these are notated in red on the agenda for your reference. Also noted in the table on the AIS, the agenda item summary. So if you have any questions or would like to further discuss any of these bills, you're welcome to do that as well.
Does the board have any questions or comments on the materials that were posted for the meeting regarding these bills?
Have any of these bills changed since we voted last time about them?
And nothing has changed since the June 24th Legislative Committee meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I would like to make a motion that we accept the previous positions of these 12 bills.
Jovita Dominguez seconds.
Brn Moderator, can you open it up for public comment, please?
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment."
I believe we have one.
GK would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Sorry, 1 second here. Go ahead, GK.
Hey, good morning to all. I just like to make a comment regarding AB 410, which is at the moment being opposed by the board. I just want to bring to the attention of the board members that seems a little regressive because the state of Delaware just passed or sign the APR and compact bill. So they are very progressive, and other states are getting progressive, and they're even going into the APR and bandwagon of making it compact. So I feel a progressive state like California should look into more progressive ideas rather than being regressive and trying to be protective mindset on an outdated Nursing Practice Act, which needs to be updated, but that's not the point of discussion here. So there are another 7 states that would be going into the APR and compact, which would also be taking away the transition practice requirement, which we'll be implementing soon. So I'm asking the board members to start looking into more progressive states' agendas on compact agreement, like Ms. Fagan said. This needs more discussion as we go by. Thank you.
Thank you, GK. Curtis Lang would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Go ahead, Mr. Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Curtis Flynn with the California Nurses Association. I'd like to just make a comment on AB 410. California Nurses Association urges the board to oppose this bill because it would relinquish control of California's authority to regulate the practice of nursing to the Interstate Commission, which is a multi-state quasi-governmental authority. The compact also hurts the BRN's ability to enforce educational and licensing requirements for nurses in California and to uphold its statutory duty of consumer protection. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Board President Trujillo, there's a public member that would like to make a comment but doesn't have a microphone. If they typed it in, would you like me to read it, or would you like to read it?
You can read it. Thank
Okay.
you, Brn Moderator.
Thank you. Okay, the board has said time and time again that they do not advocate for the nursing profession but exist to protect the public. The board president just said the board opposes the nurse licensure compact bill because they want to ensure jobs go to nurses in California and new grads instead of nurses coming from out of state. Why is the board more concerned with controlling the job market than ensuring the hospitals have enough nurses to treat patients? It seems the board's mission of public protection is only paramount when it fits the board's agenda. The board should be making sure there are enough nurses to treat patients, since that's protecting the public, but instead it's focusing on who is being hired to fill nursing vacancies. This is unacceptable and shouldn't be a reason not to support this bill. Thank you, public member. Board President Trujillo, there are no other public requests for comment. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, we'll take it to a vote. Dolores Trujillo votes yes. Vice President Mary Fagan.
Fagan votes no.
Jovita Dominguez.
Jovita Dominguez votes yes.
Elizabeth Woods.
Woods votes yes.
Susan.
Susan votes yes.
I believe that's everyone. Thank you. Capri, is there any other items to present?
That's all, Chair Trujillo, and also Member Fagan. Is there something you had questions on any of these bills that you wanted maybe further discussion on? Was that a preference?
No, I think my questions are really about 410, and we have another year to talk about that, and maybe all of us understand it more. But thank you for asking.
Sure, absolutely. That's all, Chair Trujillo. Nothing else additional. That's all the updates.
Thank you, Capri.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 11, we will go into closed session.
Thank you. So just a reminder, the Teams link has been forwarded out to all of the board members' DCA emails. You will be able to go into closed session utilizing that Teams link. To the public that is on, we are going into closed session. We will only be coming back into open session to establish a quorum and adjourn. No other business items will be addressed or conducted after we enter into closed session. So you guys are welcome to end the WebEx and the broadcasting at this moment. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lori.